Ever since Toy Story hit theaters in 1995, Pixar has crafted an animation dynasty that's shaped the childhoods of a generation. Our love for these classics can only be matched by the artists themselves, as characters from across the Pixarverse have been popping up in each other's movies in one form or another since the very beginning. Who doesn't love Pixar movies? That being said, let's take a deeper dive into the lore of our favorite studio. Today, we're going to be looking at our favorite hidden cameos you missed in the Pixar movies. I'm Joey C. Let's go! Longtime Pixar fans are familiar with the Luxo Ball, a yellow ball sporting a blue stripe and a red star, popping up in every Pixar film in some way, shape, or form. Being as graffiti on an alley wall in Monsters University, or as the ball itself in the first Toy Story. It's a reoccurring Easter egg that's always fun to search for. While many may think it first appeared in Pixar's first film, it actually debuted in Pixar's first short film, Luxo Jr., which was the birthplace of the beloved Pixar lamp. The plot, if you can call it that, of Luxo Jr. features the little lamp Luxo Jr., son of bigger lamp Luxo Sr. I don't know how that works out, but use your imagination. Playing with the titular Luxo Ball and smashing it like he does the eye in the Pixar title animation, Luxo Jr. was the brainchild of director John Lasseter, who would go on to direct Toy Story 1 and 2 and A Bug's Life. And I gotta tell you, if we didn't have the Luxo Ball, we probably wouldn't have Pixar. So thank you to the Luxo Ball. The Luxo Ball isn't the only beloved Pixar character that got their start in a short film. Fans of Toy Story 2 remember the iconic scene where Woody gets patched up by a specialist named Jerry. It stands out as one of the most memorable scenes Pixar ever crafted. The level of detail put into fixing every blemish from Woody's popped seams to literally giving him a fresh coat of paint is equal parts eerie and awe-inspiring. The camera work at play gives the scene an edge that you could only find in a graphic surgery scene like in House or ER. But it's softened by the whimsy of Jerry's toy-sized chair, which is very cute, pristinely polished and packed to the brim with spare parts, and even a drawer of chess pieces. These particular chess pieces are the connective tissue between Jerry's appearance here and his debut in the Pixar animated short, Jerry's Game, which beat The Incredibles to the punch as the first Pixar work to star a human being. The more you know. It's safe to say we're used to cameos that appear during the movie's runtime. But cameos that take place during a film's credits are something special that Pixar loves to have fun with. The end credits of 2003's Finding Nemo features Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc., swimming through the ocean decked out in a custom-fit one-eyed snorkel. We'll ignore the fact that the snorkel isn't going to do much for anyone 30,000 leagues under the sea. The bigger question is, what is Mike doing here? Is he on vacation? Is he getting some life experience for a new comedy act? Or is he trying to impress his schmoopsy-poo Celia with some clownfish sushi? Marlin does appear on the wallpaper in Harryhausen's sushi restaurant. Let's just hope he catches a fish we don't know, or else they might be making a Finding Marlin. Sounds like a fun idea, but let's try not to eat the fish we named. It should come to no surprise that Buzz Lightyear has made several cameos throughout Pixar's legacy, as he's the co-lead of their breakout hit. We see a Buzz Lightyear in the toy chest at the dentist office of P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. Since he isn't sporting the glow-in-the-dark utility belt seen in Toy Story 2, we could assume that this is our Buzz Lightyear that we all know and love. Since the Toy Story movies definitely take place in America, maybe this was during some family trip to Australia that we never saw. Although, how Buzz ended up in a dentist office is beyond me. Unless Andy got into an accident and chipped his front teeth. The dentist office doesn't seem like an ideal family vacation, even if you're abroad. It's not hard to miss the silhouette of Doug from Up and Ratatouille. But what people overlook is the secret origin of Mr. Incredible's nemesis Bon Voyage. During the montage of Linguini and Coulette's adorable romance, we see a very familiar looking mime pretending to climb a ladder and peek around invisible walls. Could this be his supervillain origin? Does he daylight as a mime as a means of planning his heists in plain sight? Does this mean that Remy is a super? I guess his powers would be his enhanced sense of smell and his mind control. Super rat coming at you, baby. The Toy Story movies are, without a doubt, the most iconic branch of the Pixar family tree. One of the most satisfying elements of the series is how the films grew up alongside their audience, with more mature themes being reflected in the characters' journeys. One of the more subtle journeys was that of Sid, who set the template for how a lot of Pixar villains would operate. Someone who, if you think about it, is just doing what makes sense to them and isn't trying to be inherently evil. Even though turning your sister's toys into a nightmare sleep paralysis demon is pretty messed up, but he definitely deserved the PTSD Woody and the gang gave him. But if you paid very close attention in Toy Story 3, you can see he went on to become a garbage man and finds it pretty fulfilling. We love a maturing story. That is fantastic, Sid. We're very proud of you here at ScreenRant. And it should be fulfilling, since it's a necessary service that pays really well. But his story doesn't end there. During the talent show scene in Coco, we see a one-man band sporting a familiar Skull t-shirt. The last time we saw Sid, he was rocking out to his Walkman. So it looks like he finally found a passion that doesn't include mutilating sentient beings. The films of Pixar's golden age were often punctuated by fully animated blooper reels that played during the credits. Seeing the characters flub their lines like actors on a set gave these characters an extra layer of personality that made them feel that much more real. Hopper being emasculated by the Queen during the end credits of A Bug's Life is one of the most underappreciated moments in the entire Pixar canon, and Rex showing up at the crosswalk of Monsters, Inc. was an early spark for the Pixar shared universe theory. Also, it brings into question how big the monsters and humans of that world are, considering Rex is as tall as the buildings in Monstropolis. The verisimilitude at play in these bloopers crafted a secret world within the secret world that defined early Pixar, and in retrospect provided some missed potential. With Disney Plus cranking out many animated series based on all the beloved classics, we could get a behind-the-scenes Pixar series in the vein of House of Mouse or even that new Chippendale movie, and I gotta say, that would be pretty fantastic. Brave was pretty light on cameos. Its most famous one would easily be Merida's cameo in Wreck-It Ralph 2. But the less that's said about that movie, the better. Brave's most notable hidden cameo appears along the wood carvings within the witch's cottage, where Merida seeks a spell that will change her destiny. Along the dozens of bear carvings that line the witch's walls, you can spot a carving of everyone's favorite fuzzy uncle, Sully, turning the Pixar shared universe theory into account. But this does beg the question if the witch turned ordinary people into monsters and their spells were never lifted. But this makes me miss the animated bloopers even more, because Sully showing up in the credits of Brave, or even Merida's mom popping up in Monsters University, would have been hilarious. Speaking of, Monsters University is a film that stands in the shadow of its predecessor, and that's unfortunate, as it really speaks to those who struggle to find their place in the legal pyramid scheme that's higher education. As such, it's tragically fitting that it's the only Pixar film that features a nod to The Good Dinosaur, where its main character Arlo can be seen as a toy. The Good Dinosaur certainly isn't a bad film, but it's easily one of Pixar's blandest. Still, it's nice to see the artists at Pixar honor it anyway, since Pixar's weakest efforts take years of effort, and should be honored as such. Turning Red is easily one of the most beloved Pixar works in recent memory, channeling the energy of Ghibli classics like My Neighbor Totoro to tell a poignant story about the struggles of puberty. And unlike most films about growing up, it isn't horribly depressing. With the ever-increasing popularity of Pixar's animated shorts over the years, Turning Red is peanut butter and jam-packed with Easter eggs only the most devout fans will catch. The short film Bow, which premiered in front of screenings of Incredibles 2, shares the same director of Turning Red, Domi Shi. It's an emotionally moving tale of parenthood, expressed through the delicious steamy lens of Bowsy steamed buns. The exact same dumplings appear in Turning Red, alongside the shop that uses the short film's logo as its sign. While it's unfortunate the World Trade Center couldn't make it into the film, this inclusion is a well-earned victory lap for Pixar's first female-led film. Inside Out left our emotions battered and bruised in ways we didn't expect. Seeing Riley grapple with her emotions is a journey we've all been on, and it's one you can get invested in whether you're her age or her parents' age. One of the strengths of Pixar movies is how they can reach a variety of audiences through their characters, whether they're relatable or role models. On that note, it's fitting that one of the magazines in Riley's house features Coolette from Ratatouille on its front cover. This absolute girl boss is an inspiration, and she really deserves her own cooking show on Disney Plus. Seriously, that has so much much potential. You could bring in so many Food Network stars and food YouTubers to do an entire series of an animated Iron Chef. Did you know that Up is a really sad movie? Shocking, I know, it makes me cry every time. It's one of Pixar's films that gets better, or worse depending on your perspective, as you get older. And that's the point, as it's all about getting older and realizing that life is absolute chaos and we have no means of controlling it. Which makes it tragically fitting that we got to see Lotso Huggin' Bear from Toy Story 3 in one passing scene alongside the Luxo Ball. Ladies and gentlemen and everybody in between, you made it to the end of the video. What did you think of these Pixar cameos? Did we notice anything that you didn't? If so, let us know in the comments below. And as always, everybody, thanks for watching.